Able to see the screen? So this is what we have as a chapter overview. We have the definition and scope of micro and macroeconomics, then the nature of economics, and the basic problems that an economy faces, right? So when we are talking about basically the nature and scope, okay, so if you look at this particular chart, you can understand here that when we are talking about economics as a subject, what does that subject deal with? That is what we are trying to learn, correct? So when we are talking about business economics, we are talking about what are the problems that are faced by man in the field of economics, right? And how we are trying to use this particular subject to solve those problems, correct? So here the most basic problem that we face is that our wants are unlimited, correct? Human nature is that we have unlimited wants. To satisfy these wants, we have resources, but these resources are not unlimited, correct? See, for example, let us say we are just talking about time as one of the resource, let us say. So we have only 24 hours in a day, right? And we want to do innumerable number of activities in this particular 24 hours. But you know that it is not possible for us to do all the things we wish to do in these 24 hours, isn't it? Correct? So that means the resource is limited, right? But our our wants are unlimited, right? In the same manner, for example, let us say we have some amount of pocket money given to by our parents, right? And in that, whatever expenses we wish to have in a particular month, we have to see to it that in our allowance itself, all of those things are taken care of, right? Now we may want to do lot of things, but our allowance which is given by our parents is limited. So within that allowance, within that pocket money, we will have to ensure that whatever our requirements are, they are taken care of. So resource, that is our pocket money, is limited, but whatever we want to do, we wish to do, our ends, right, our wants are unlimited, right? So here wants would be the kinds of ends that we want to achieve, whereas the resources that we wish to use to satisfy our wants are our ends, okay? So this is where we are talking about ends and means. Means through which we try to satisfy, okay? So means would be the resources, ends would be the wants. We want satisfaction of our wants, so ends would be the want satisfaction. So that is why our ends are unlimited and our resources are limited. So what we try to do, we try to choose which is important, which is not important, and whatever is the most important thing, we try to assign the resource to that particular end, correct? We prioritize, we try to make a choice, which is important, which is our first priority, which is our second priority, so on and so forth. As long as our resource is enough, we try to satisfy as many choices as possible. But we are forced to make a choice because our means, our resources are limited. So that is why out of all the wants that we want to satisfy, we have to select which is very important, which is next important. Because once we satisfy the most urgent wants, whenever we have more resources, we can satisfy the remaining number of wants, correct? That is the reason why unlimited number, that is why they are graded in a priority basis. That is, you have to select which is first, which is second, which is third, whereas the resources are limited. And these resources have alternative uses, no doubt about it, isn't it? money can be used for several purposes. You wish to buy a book, you wish to throw a party to your friend, you wish to go to a movie, you want to eat something in a restaurant, right? You want to travel very comfortably home. All of these are the different kinds of things which you can do with money. But given that we have limited resources, that is limited amount of money, we have to choose which one we have to assign this money for. Correct? Because we don't have unlimited amount of money in our hands to satisfy everything. That is the reason why these resources have alternative uses. See, for example, if you take this building can be used for several purposes, isn't it? So if you take this particular building or land as a resource, it has alternative uses. It can be used as a hostel, it can be used as a bank, it can be used as a residential complex, it can be used as an institute, it can be used for something else, commercial complex. Correct? So it has several alternative uses, right? So we have to choose for which particular usage that particular resource has to be utilized. Okay, so this is where we are talking about means being limited and alternative uses. And because of the scarcity of resources, that is the reason why we have to make a choice. Please put your phones on silent. Okay, so if you want to go, you can, you don't have to ask, right? Now, so this is where we are talking about what business economics is basically about. So okay, so here we are talking about definition of business economics. So if you talk about here, you find here this particular business economics is essentially a component of applied economics, as it includes application of selected quantitative techniques such as linear programming, regression analysis, capital budgeting, break-even analysis, and cost analysis. This is what I mean to say, it is defined as, right? But very simply, if you look at the first definition, business economics may be defined as the use of economic analysis to make business decisions involving the best use of an organization's scarce resource. This is very simple to understand, right? So what do we do in business? We take decisions. On what decisions are we, I mean to say, what kind of decisions we have to take? How do we make use of the scarce resources so that we can make the best usage of them? Correct? How to see, a firm will have limited resources, some land, some labor, some capital, right? And some talent pool, that is I am to say whoever are the organization, those people. Now we have to ensure that we have to make best use of these resources, right? So how to make the best use of these resources without wasting them? That is where the decisions of a business will be based on whatever we learn in business economics. Okay, so this is where the definition of business economics is. So basically it is about taking the key economic decisions about the allocation of their firm's scarce resources. So same thing, but in different words it is spoken about, right? How business economics is all about allotting the scarce resources so that we get the best out of those particular resources. Okay, resources can be anything. As I just now said, it could be the 4 factors of production. It could be even any kind of the talent pool that the company has, because you have talented employees, right? So not just, we don't just treat them as labor, but we also treat them as human capital, isn't it? Right? So technology, what kind of technology the company has, right? What kind of techniques of production is it going for? What kind of capital structure the company has? All of these are resources. So we have to make the best use of these resources. Okay? So basically this is where we are talking about decision making. Now coming to nature of business economics. Now when we talk about nature of business economics, we basically talk about two things. One, nature is what kind of a subject is it? Nature means what? Characteristics, right? Characteristics. So if you would want to describe a person, then you will be describing the physical qualities of that particular person as well as the personality of that person, isn't it? Similarly, when we are talking about a subject, we are talking about what is that subject about, what is studied in that particular subject, what is that subject dealing with, and how far is the boundary of that subject, what all are included in that subject. That is what you mean by nature and scope of economics, right? Scope, that means how far are we going to learn, what are the things which are included as a part of the subject, right? Is this a part of it, is that a part of it? That is what we are trying to find out. Okay, so this is where we are talking about the nature of business economics. So basically when we talk about the subject matter, we talk about two concepts. One, microeconomics and macroeconomics. So yesterday I was talking about this particular concept, isn't it? So let us look at a little bit more in detail, right? So what is microeconomics? So if you look at it here, you find microeconomics is basically the study of behavior of different individuals and organizations within an economic system. So yesterday when I was talking about it, I told you that microeconomics is study about individual units, isn't it? Right? Also called as particular units. Very specific, we are learning about something specific. Right? So for example, in this entire class, let us say that I am talking about two students in particular. Right? So that means I am making a detailed study only about those two students. Right? Or in all the 4 subjects that you study, let us say that I am concentrating only on economics. Right? CA Foundation is a one course, but in that you have 4 different subjects. So in that, what am I concentrating on? Only one subject. In detail, I am dealing with it. Right? So this is where we are talking about study of individual units, particular units, right, which comes under microeconomics. Okay, so here the focus is on small number or a group of units rather than all combined. Okay, instead of combining all the things at once, what does microeconomics do? It concentrates on some things, small part, and study that in detail. Just like we take a leaf, we put it under a microscope, we study each cell in that particular leaf. We don't study the entire tree. Correct? That is what you mean by microeconomics. Okay, so this is where we are talking about small number or group of units rather than all the units combined. And what are we studying here? Product pricing. That is how each product's price is fixed. Now let me tell you that microeconomics actually is also called as price theory. Okay, because we are talking about product pricing, I want to tell you that microeconomics is also called as price theory. Why it is called as price theory is because microeconomics deals with 2 types of things. One, product pricing. How prices of products are determined, that is what is learned in microeconomics. Second thing that we learn in microeconomics is factor pricing. How each reward of the factor of production is fixed. Land, labor, capital, organization. Now, for example, let us say that we are talking about a water bottle. The price of a water bottle is different. Correct? The price of a ceiling fan is different. The price of a book is different. The price of your pen is different. right? Now the prices of all products are not fixed in the same manner, correct? And each of the prices of these factors, that is of these products, depend upon different circumstances. The cost of production that goes into it, and also the demand and supply of that product, correct? So each product has its own demand, each product has its own supply, each product has its own cost of production, correct? So individually we are deciding the prices of different products in different ways. So again, particularly we are deciding, specifically we are deciding, individually we are deciding. That comes under microeconomics, correct? Likewise, for example, if you are fixing the rent of a land, all land will not have the same rent, isn't it? Correct? And different laborers have different wages, right? And it is decided separately, isn't it? For each work, the different wage is set. For different use, the rent is changed. For agricultural purposes, the rent is different. Commercial purpose, the rent is different. Residential purpose, the rent is different. Different areas, different rent. Different usage, different rent. Correct? So what is happening here? Again, separately for each use, depending upon the demand and supply, depending upon what is the necessity for using it, depending upon that you decide the rewards for the 4 factors of production, isn't it? So that means again separately you are deciding the factor prices, correct? For each of the factors the prices are set differently. So this is the reason why both factor pricing and product pricing is the domain of microeconomics. That is, it is studied under microeconomics. That is the reason why it is called as price theory. Got it? Right? This is the reason why the first thing says about product pricing. Then we talk about consumer behavior. So we talk about how consumer behaves. Why is he purchasing a product? When he is purchasing a product, right? What quantity he is purchasing, at what time is he purchasing, why is he not purchasing, why is he purchasing so much, right? So these kinds of behavior you can't just generalize for everybody, right? The way I behave will be different than when compared to the other consumer. Correct? Your consumption pattern is different when compared to the other consumer's pattern, isn't it? So that means individually again we will have to observe and we have to come to a conclusion, isn't it? So again that comes under microeconomics, because for each product the consumer may respond in a different manner. For each particular service the consumer behavior may be different, isn't it? So again that is why consumer behavior is a part of microeconomics. Then we just now spoke about factor pricing, just now I was talking about it. Then economic conditions of a section of people. Now you find that middle class will have a different kind of an economic situation, right? The upper middle class may have a different kind of an economic situation. The one who are very rich may have a different kind of an economic situation, and the one who are below poverty line or those who have less incomes may have a different kind of a economic situation. Each one will be behaving and spending according to their needs and necessities, right? It is different. Each one of them have to be studied separately. All of them can't be generalized. Just because Anil Ambani or somebody is spending so much, right, on certain product doesn't mean that we all also can spend in the same manner, isn't it? Just because I am not spending on something doesn't mean that others will not spend. Correct? So this is the reason why we have to look at economic conditions of the sections of people. Then behavior of firms. Each company may be behaving in a different manner, right? Because each of the company's objectives and goals may be different, isn't it? Right? Some may be aiming at welfare maximization, some may be aiming at profit maximization, some may be aiming at sales maximization, some may be aiming at quality enhancement, some may be aiming at expansion of the market. Different goals, isn't it? So depending upon each goal of the firm, the behavior of the firms also may change. That is why we have to study behavior of firms under microeconomics. Then location of an industry. Please understand, just because the word industry is used doesn't mean that it comes under macroeconomics, right? What is an industry first of all? Can you define an industry? No, dear. And group of firms cannot be called as an industry because the firms may be producing different products. A ceiling fan making company, a furniture making company, a tablet making company cannot be called as an industry. Group of firms, no? But are they called as an industry? Steel industry, iron and steel industry, petrochemical industry, automobile industry, cement industry, sugar industry. What does it mean? Different companies producing similar products. Okay? Different companies may be producing cars. Right? All the firms which produce cars put together can be called as a car industry or automobile industry. Right? Likewise, all companies which produce electronics can be called as electronic industry. All companies producing your mobile phones can be called as telecommunication industry. Right or not? But there are different companies producing different products, isn't it? I mean to say, different brands of products, but all of them are similar products, isn't it? All are mobile phones. Are you with me? Different companies produce cement. There is JK Cement, right? Ambuja Cement, right? Or some other cement. All put together, all firms put together are called as cement industry. Okay, so industry is what? A group of firms producing similar products. Okay, now when we are talking about an industry, as I said, just now I uttered so many different industries. Automobile industry, telecommunication industry, beverages industry, or for that matter, any other iron and steel industry, sugar industry, cement industry, anything. Now, only we are talking about one industry, that means one product. Correct? We are not including all the products in the country, isn't it? Correct or not? So only telecommunications we are talking about. Only cars we are talking about. Only cement we are talking about. So that means it is only a part of the whole. Part of the whole means microeconomics. Yes or no? Right? If you include everything, all the industries in a nation, then that becomes macroeconomics. Correct? So when we are talking about location of an industry, we are talking about basically, see for example, jute industry. Basically, it is situated in which place? Jute, where is it produced more? West Bengal? Do you know? West Bengal and that belt. More of that area is known for jute industry. Okay? Likewise, cotton industry. Where is it grown? Geography, we forgot. What is in India? Huh? Coffee. Where is it grown? Why go there? Karnataka is known for coffee. Coffee plantations. Tea. Assam, Darjeeling. Right? You know a few places. Don't forget them. These are basic general knowledge. Okay, just because we are becoming chartered accountants doesn't mean we should forget our school level geography. Okay, right? So when we are talking about location of an industry, we are trying to find out what circumstances were favoring that industry to be situated in that place. There must be raw materials, there must be labor available, there must be capital, right? So that is the reason why those industries are located at a particular place, isn't it? There is some advantage there, either in growth because the weather conditions are ideal, maybe the soil because the land is so, I would say, ideal for growing that, right? Or raw materials are available in that particular place, right? Or some other kind of minerals are found in that place, whatever it is, right? This is where we are talking about location of an industry, which is a part of microeconomics. Okay, then we come to macroeconomics. Now in macroeconomics, as we said, it is a study of the overall economic phenomena, right, or the economy as a whole. So if I study the entire class as a macro unit, then that is what is macroeconomics. Let us say that I take the entire institute as a macroeconomic unit, right? Then your class is just a micro unit because you are one of the classes, right? All the other classes put together, the whole institute will be a macro unit. If I include all such CA, CMA institutes in Hyderabad, then your institute will become a micro unit, right? And all the institutions in Hyderabad becomes a macro unit. Okay, so micro and macro, the meaning is changing according to the context. What is taken as a whole and what is taken as a part of it. Okay, so this is where we have to talk about it. So it is the study of behavior of large economic aggregates. Now aggregates means totals. See, you have to understand that even if this class is taken as a micro unit, unless and until I add all the students in a class, that doesn't become a micro unit, right? So in microeconomics also some aggregates are there, some totals are there. But these totals in microeconomics are very small in comparison to what? The totals in macroeconomics. See, if I take the population in a class and if I take the population of a nation, you find that this total is very small and that total is huge. Correct? So aggregates are there in microeconomics also, but you find that in macroeconomics we study with a large magnitude of aggregates. So that is the reason why large economic aggregates. So we are talking in microeconomics, let us say demand of one product, whereas in macroeconomics we study aggregate demand, demand of all commodities and services put together. Okay, supply of one product we may be studying in microeconomics, but aggregate supply we study in macroeconomics. Income of an individual we study in microeconomics. National income or per capita income we study in macroeconomics. See, per capita income doesn't mean one person's income, it is a national average, right? Overall average. So definitely that also is a macroeconomic unit. Okay, so this is where we are talking about total consumption, total savings, total investments. So such are the examples. Okay, so this is how it is. So it is analyzes the overall economic environment in which firms, governments, households operate. So this is where we are talking about what macroeconomics is. Right? Now, if you talk about what comes under macroeconomics, see, these are the things. We have listed out a few in yesterday's class also. I was talking about national income, I was talking about inflation, right? I was talking about the level of employment, economic growth, right? You might have heard about balance of payments also, isn't it? Right? If whatever our country deals in exports and imports and also capital investments, right? Inflow and outflow. If you are making a record of all of that, right, that is what that statement is called as balance of payments. We will deal more about it later, right? And foreign currency, our exchange rate is there, isn't it? We have that chapter also in this particular syllabus, right? So $1 is equal to how many rupees? Pound sterling is equal to how many rupees, right? 1 dinar is equal to how many rupees? That is what is a foreign exchange. That is when we convert our currency into other countries' currency, what is the value? That comes under external value of currency. We often hear about it, no? If we have to go to other countries, we have to convert our rupees into their currency, correct? So by giving how many rupees are we going to get that currency will be decided by the external value of currency. Okay, so if we have to get $1, how many rupees we have to give? That is what is external value of currency with rupee versus dollar. Okay, so this is where we are talking about it. So usually business economics is concerned with microeconomics, because 4 of the chapters that you have learned, that is in your syllabus. First, introduction to business economics. Then we are talking about demand and supply. We are talking about production and cost. We are talking about markets. All of these are a part of microeconomic study, right? And business economics basically is concentrating on the study of firms, companies, how they behave, what kind of revenue they earn, what kind of products they produce, what kind of services do they render, what kind of revenues do they earn, what kind of costs they bear. All of this comes under firms itself, and that is the focal point of microeconomics. That is, we concentrate business economics more on these things. Why? Because business is not about running the business of a country, isn't it? We are only concerned with our business. So our business is only micro in nature, isn't it? Right? That is why basic business economics is mostly concerned with microeconomics. But see, if you mind your own business and don't want to know what is happening outside our business, then that is not acceptable, isn't it? Right? Because we have to deal with the outside world also. We produce commodities, we want to sell it in the outside world. Let us say the market is not so good. Let us say some corona pandemic, that situation, if you can imagine. No matter how good our product is, right, during that particular period of time, because the outside situation was not good, many of the businesses had to suffer or not, right? So macro environment will have an effect on micro environment. So we need to have an understanding about what is macro environment, what is happening in the nation, right? Unless we have an understanding about what the economy is and how it works, we cannot run our business properly. Correct or not? That is why, though business economics is concerned with microeconomics, macroeconomic analysis also plays an important role. Okay, so this is the reason why both are important, but our main focus is on microeconomics. This is what you have to understand. Okay, so a knowledge about inflation, interest rates, what kind of government policies are carried out by the government will help our business to prosper. If you don't have an understanding, our business may face losses. That is why we need an understanding about macro environment. Okay, so this is where we are talking about the subject matter, basically is the scope of business economics. Coming to the nature of business economics, we are trying to find out what are the features, characteristics of a subject. If you know the characteristics, that means we know what kind of a subject it is. So if you ask me to describe a person, I will say that that person is so and so tall, fair, or dark and very intelligent and very talkative or whatever, very clever, very forthcoming, very polite, kind, whatever it is, my description will be like this. So when I am describing a subject also, I should be able to pinpoint what are the characteristic features of that subject, isn't it? So this is where we are talking about nature of business economics. Okay, so here the first thing that it says is business economics is a science. Now can you tell me what are the characteristic features of any subject called as science? We have a science student here, let us ask her. Any subject which is called as a science, what kind of characteristic features should that subject have? It should be possible to innovate, okay? What else? That it comes under again innovations only. Then we should be able to analyze, okay? What does science consist of? We should be able to experiment, isn't it? Experiments are a part of science. Correct? Through experiments, we are trying to prove something. So experiments should be possible. It should be possible for us to measure things in science. It should be possible for us to predict things in science. It should be possible for us to, let us say, universally apply the laws of science anywhere. Right? So we should have some laws, some principles, some theories. So it is a systematic body of knowledge. It should be able to explain cause and effect relations. Why something is happening, right? And what happens after something, right? So all of these are a part of science or not, right? So let us see whether these characteristic features of a science apply to economics or not, right? Does economics have laws, principles and theories? Yes, correct. Law of demand, law of supply, law of variable proportions, law of diminishing marginal utility. So many different laws and principles we have. Opportunity principle, incremental principle, discounting principle. So many theories we have. Theory of consumer behavior, theory of demand, like that. Theory of production, theory of cost, right? So that means we have what is there in science. Next. Does it explain cause and effect relationship? It does, right? Why something is happening, why are prices rising, we can say what are the reasons. Why is cost increasing, we have the reasons. Why is revenue decreasing, we have the reasons. Correct? So that means demand is, economics is able to explain cause and effect relationship. Can we measure things in economics? Yes or no? With the help of what is the value of land, we can measure in money. What is the value of labor, we can measure in money. What is the value of time, we can measure in money. What is the value of a product, we can measure in money. What is the value of a factor, we can measure in money. We are very fortunate to have the measuring rod of money in economics. That is why we can measure. Alright? Next, are the laws of economics universally applicable? Law of demand works in India, it works in Sri Lanka, it works in New Zealand, it works in Antarctica, anywhere, no? Correct or not? So laws of economics are universally applicable. Correct? Then, are experiments possible in economics? I am not talking about only a laboratory. The whole world is a laboratory for economics, isn't it? I can conduct any kind of an experiment on any individual or group of people also. Correct? So experiments are possible. Correct? So when we look at all of these, we can predict things in economics also. That is something is going to happen. If you save this much, you are going to get this much of return. We can predict. Right? So that means what? Economics contains all the features of a science. So that is why business economics is a science. Okay? Next. Based on microeconomics. Just now I was talking about why it is micro in nature. Because the focus is more on business. Okay, because we focus more on how business runs, what kind of decisions one takes in business, how to succeed in business, all of these things are learned. That is why the focus is more on micro. So that is why based on microeconomics, right? Then it incorporates macro analysis. Just now I said, just not only micro, but we also have to have an idea about macro elements also. So that is why it incorporates the elements of macro analysis, right? So we need to know how the economy is working. We need to know about taxation. We need to know about interest rates. We need to know about exchange rates. We need to know about wages and regulation of monopolies. Monopolies will come to that later, but these are the different things which are a part of macroeconomics. We should be aware of these things. Okay, and apart from economics being a science, we also call it as an art. Why? See, if I teach you all theories of economics, you should be able to practically apply these things in your business, right? That means it depends upon your skill. It depends upon your creativity. Just like if I teach swimming in class, theory classes I take, how to swim, you get a certificate, first rank, okay, but no practical training. You jump in the pool, you drown, isn't it? Why? Because it's only theoretical knowledge. How well you are able to apply it in practical depends upon, it's an art. Not everybody can do the same thing, doesn't have the same skill. If I teach you how to paint, not everybody can become a master in painting, isn't it? It all depends upon your talent, your skill, how well you are able to practically apply the theoretical knowledge into practice, right? So economics is also like that, right? It is an art. So art is subjective, most important. Subjective means differs from person to person. It is not the same. Objective means common. Okay, subjective means differs from person to person. So this is where we are talking about economics being an art. Okay, and then makes use of theory of markets and private enterprises. So when we are talking about usage of theory of markets and private enterprises, we are learning about how markets function. Okay, and we are also talking about how private enterprise, private businesses, how they run, how they are managed. Okay, what kind of decisions go into that business, how decisions are taken in that business, right? All of these things we learn as a part of business economics. So that is the reason why it uses the theory of markets and private enterprise. Pragmatic in approach. Pragmatic, literal meaning is what in English? Being pragmatic means being practical, correct. Being practical is pragmatic. So we are not building castles in the air. We are being realistic, right? We are being very practical. Practical in the sense what happens in real life, we are more concerned about it. Not just bookish knowledge. We are trying to implement these theories, these principles into real life, into our business, correct? That is why it is pragmatic. Business economics especially. I am not just talking about theoretical economics. Business economics, because it is concerned with implementation of the theory into practice, that is the reason why we say that business economics is pragmatic in approach. Practical, right? Whatever we learn in business economics, why it is called as business economics is because whatever is necessary for us to take decisions in business, those things are taught in business economics. Okay, so it can't be theory. You have to implement these principles in your business. That is how it is taught. That is why it is called as pragmatic in approach. Okay, it is interdisciplinary in nature. See, in economics, we not only make use of just economics, we make use of statistics, statistical tools, we make use of regression, correlation, or some other things, averages, right? We have to make use of it. Sometimes we have to make use of these tools, only then we can reach a conclusion, correct? Likewise, we make use of a little bit of mathematics, right? Some equations are there, some numericals are there, right? We try to find out what is the demand of a commodity, what is the supply of a commodity, how do we find out the revenue of a firm. All of these are what? Mathematics. Apart from that, we also study about management, right? How administration is taken care of, how each department is taken care of, how do you manage your finances, how do you manage your production, how do you manage your quality, how do you manage your cost. All of these are cost management, right? Then financial management, human resource management, all of these are management, which are again a part of economics, right? Likewise, we also talk about operations research. Operations research is basically about logistics. If there are certain things that are needed, how we have to ensure that whatever things are needed are allocated. See, we have, let us say, a godown. All stocks and purchases are there in it. Let us say we have 4 different branches. Okay, and to 4 different branches, necessary things should be going from this godown, right? So different things are needed by different branches at different times, correct? So when the stock from this godown, which particular material should reach which branch at what time, in how much of quantity, right? All of that is what? Logistics, operations research. It's like your army is spread in different areas and the army office has to send supplies to all the areas. So where what is needed is what is planning necessary, isn't it? So supply should reach, otherwise those people will not be able to fight the enemies, isn't it? So this is where we are talking about operations research. How things should reach the concerned places at the right time, in right place, right, in right quantity. That is what is operations research. Okay, so this is where accounting, marketing, all of these are a part of economics. These are the different disciplines that we learn which are related to business economics. Okay, next we come to normative in nature. Now there are 2 concepts that you have to be familiar with. 1, positive science, and 2, normative science. When we talk about positive science is a subject which only deals with facts. Okay, only deals with facts. It doesn't take any kind of a decision or judgment about whether whatever is happening is good or bad, better or worse, reasonable or unreasonable, should be done or shouldn't be done. Nothing, silent. Okay, see, for example, in newspaper you read the headlines. Okay, so and so team lost to so and so team in IPL match. Minister visited this particular area which was flooded. 22 people killed in an earthquake in a particular place, right? Now in that particular headline that you read, it is a fact, isn't it? Nothing which is built as a story. All are facts. Whatever is happening, that is reported, correct? The newspaper in those particular lines doesn't tell that earthquake is, I will say 22 people were killed, it is very bad, it should not have happened, government should have taken this measure. Nothing like that. Only facts, description of whatever is happening, correct? Likewise, if you turn your newspaper inside, editorial column is there, right? There are certain views which are expressed by the editor. Okay, there some criticisms or praise may take place of certain things. For example, this government policy, right, is not working properly. Okay, based on certain kinds of information, the person who has written that article will give his opinion. Correct or not? He will give an opinion saying that this policy is good, this policy is not good, this policy is bad, whatever it is. Now everyone may agree to it, may disagree with it, right? It is just an opinion expressed, right? See, for example, if I say that depending upon the academic performance of a class, I just say that 30% of people got first class, 20% of people got second class, 10% of people got third class, and few of them have failed, right? This is the academic performance of a particular class. It is just a fact, right? I have not made a judgment, or neither have I given an opinion or suggestion that this is a good result, bad result, it should be improved, not improved. I didn't say anything. It is just a fact. Description of whatever is happened, right? That is what is positive science. For example, in physics, a body of mass, right? If you throw it from so and so distance, it falls on the ground with so and so speed, with so and so momentum. That is a fact. Correct or not? All of these are what? Facts. But when there is a particular kind of a subject which not only tells you what is happening, but also passes judgments on whether it is good or bad, or whether it should be better or worse, right? Some kind of a opinion, if it is expressed, that is normative science. Depending upon the academic result of the class, I say that if only students had studied more seriously, the result would have been better. It is my opinion, right? You may agree with it, you may not agree with it, right? Students who are coming late to the class are very bad in nature. That is my opinion, right? Isn't it? It is only my judgment. It is my opinion. That's it, right? I am passing a judgment. I am telling whether it is good or bad, right? Likewise, for example, let us say the same example of physics. Now, this knowledge we say, and let us say that somebody throws a person out of the window. I said, if you throw a body of mass from a particular height, it falls to the ground at so and so speed, at so and so momentum. I make use of this knowledge to throw a person out of the window. Okay, now physics textbook didn't tell me that you should use this knowledge for this purpose. Does it come with a disclaimer? Don't use this for your personal agenda. No, it is only stating a fact, right? Whereas I am using that knowledge for my own purpose, isn't it? So whenever I am passing a judgment on something, expressing an opinion, giving a suggestion, telling what is good, what is not good, telling what should be done, what shouldn't be done, telling some people what is worse, what is better, reasonable, unreasonable, fair, unfair, whatever be the case, if judgments, opinions, suggestions are given, that is what is called as normative science. Norms means what? Rules. N-O-R-M-S. Norms means rules. Rules are laid down in the society. Traffic rules. Traffic rule says you should do this, you should not do this. Yes? So it is giving you some kind of a indication. What you should do, what you shouldn't do. If you don't do it, you are bad. You are a bad citizen. If you do it, then you are a good citizen if you follow the rules, isn't it? So it is deciding, no, it is making a judgment. Correct? All such kinds of things are called as normative science. Okay, now the argument is, should we regard economics as a positive science or a normative science? Now, in economics, I'll just give a simple example for you to understand. Our Indian population is very huge. Okay, so positive science will say then our Indian population is somewhere around 133 billion, 133 million, that means 1 point something billion, right? So, and the rate of increase in population in so and so percentage per year, right? And by I am to say, as on today, we are the largest populated country in the world. This is a fact. This is what positive science deals with. If it is a normative science, then we are facing, now even positive science can say that because of the large amount of population, the people are facing different kinds of shortages of goods and services. This also is positive science because it's a fact, right? But normative science will not stop there. It is going to provide you solutions. It is going to give you suggestions of what should be done in order to see to it that you solve the problem. Okay? Now government, what it has done? Population policy it has implemented. Correct? Now population policy, policy means a measure to overcome a problem. Please understand, any policy is a measure to overcome a particular problem or to systematize something. So when you are talking about population policy, why did government implement population policy? Because it wants to overcome the problem of population. How to handle, how to manage, right? So definitely it gives certain kinds of measures, right? That marriageable age should be so and so. You should try to have only 2 kids per family, right? Then health and wealth of the child and the mother, all of that it is prescribing, right? Why it is prescribing? It is because it wants to find a solution to the problem. Correct? So what is the policy doing? It is acting as a normative science to solve the problem. It is telling that if you follow that policy, then you are a good citizen. If you are not following it, you are bad. Right? So it is taking a judgment. It is making a judgment. Good versus bad. Right? That is what is called as normative science. So if you are talking about traditional economics or theoretical economics, just now I said that if you are only taught the theories, if you are only taught the concepts, right, and I leave it at it, it is positive science. But business economics is not just sitting there or stopping there. It is saying that go and implement this in your business. If you find any problem, this is how you solve it. Okay? Practical training also, not just theoretical knowledge. Business economics is also helping you in practically implementing it. You should do this in business. You should not do this in business. You should take this decision like this. You should not take this decision like this. It is prescribing. It is suggesting. Right? It is giving its opinion. That is why business economics is not a positive science, but it is a normative science. Okay? That is why, see here, positive or pure science analyzes only cost and effective relationship, but it does not involve any value judgment. Okay, so positive science deals with only what is, facts, whereas normative science deals with what ought to be. What ought to be means how things should be. Okay, so that is why you find that it is descriptive in nature. This is all features of positive science, please. Okay, so objective, scientific manner, deals with what is, descriptive in nature, right? This is where we are talking about positive science. What is normative science? Involves value judgments. See, if you take your diagnostic report after getting your diagnostics done from the clinic or diagnostic center, doctor will just read the diagnostics saying, okay, your BP is this much, your sugar is this much, your cholesterol is this much, you go home. That is only positive science. But doctor will not sit quietly like that. No, he gives you a cure, prescribes some medication for getting rid of the problem, right? So that is what is normative. Okay, so here prescriptive in nature, suggests what should be done, right? And welfare considerations are a part of the normative. That means how to increase one state of happiness, that science will suggest us, that normative science. Okay, so this is where we are talking about business economics is generally a normative or prescriptive in nature. Okay, so whatever I have highlighted, if you have your, I'm to say, material, you can mark it so that you can understand. If you don't understand something, please, you are open to ask. If you don't understand something, just raise your hand. Clear to everyone? Yes? Okay. So just before we end up, because there are 6 minutes left, so just let us look at the scope of business economics. So as I said, scope is mostly about micro and macro. So it is applied to internal or operational issues. Like, for example, choice of business, its size. Should I start a small scale industry, a medium scale industry, a large scale industry? That is what is size. Okay. Product decisions. Which product I have to produce? Technology. Should I go for labor intensive technique or a capital intensive technique or any other innovative technique? Factor combinations. Should I use more capital with labor? Should I use more labor with capital? What should be the combination of capital, labor? How much of land should I use? Those are factor combinations, right? Then pricing and sales promotion. I have to promote my product to sell it to the consumers, isn't it? So how I should price my products? How I should increase the sale of my products? Then financing and management of investments. Because companies nowadays are not just depending upon the profits of their products only. With the amount of profit they are earning, they are also investing in different things. Correct? So this is where we are talking about management of investments. And inventory. How much I should have as purchases, raw material and everything, I should have some stock. Right? Because my production should not suffer because of shortage of supplies. Correct? But if I have too much of supplies, you know that my money is locked up. Unless and until my finished product is sold in the market, I will not get my money. Right? Till that money is got back, I can't rotate my money. So that is why inventory management is very, very useful, important. That is the reason why you find that all of these are examples of operational issues. In microeconomics, we apply all of these things. Okay. Then demand analysis and forecasting. Now, do any one of you know what is forecasting? Correct. So, whenever we take a market analysis, let us say we want to produce a product or we are already producing a product, we would like to know how is going to be the future trend in the market, how is going to be the demand for our product. Then we have to use this demand forecasting tool. Okay, so 6 months from now, how is going to be the demand for the product? 5 years from now, how is going to be the demand for the product? Do I have to make any changes in my product, in my style, in my design, in my features, ingredients, color, shape, whatever it is, right? Because if I don't innovate, if I don't change and keep the same thing for years together, customers will get bored, right? And substitutes may be better than my product and I will not be able to compete with them, right? So you know that Nokia, how it has lost the world market because it didn't concentrate on smartphones and somebody else became the leader, whereas Nokia being the pioneer of cellular technology lagged behind. Now it is nowhere to be seen. Correct? So this is the reason why we say that demand forecasting is very much essential. So that is the reason why there are many tools in demand forecasting which one makes use of to ensure that we can study how the market is going to be, time in future. Okay, so this is where we are talking about. See, keeping the demand in mind, we have to ensure that our investments are there, money should be there, isn't it? And size of the plant, whether it is sufficient for our demand or not, whether our factors of production are sufficient or not, right? Whether our capacity of a plant is sufficient or not. All of this we have to adjust depending upon the changes in demand that will take place in future. So that is why we need forecasting. Okay, so we have to plan well in advance. What? Raw materials, labor, machines, equipment, buildings, all of this. So we make use of scientific tools which will help him in forecasting the demand. Okay, so this is the one of the points under microeconomics where we are talking about demand analysis and forecasting, right? So for today we will stop here. We will continue with the rest of the things in our next class. So any doubts you have? Are you able to follow whatever I am saying? Please do not hesitate if you are unable to understand something. Just raise your hand, especially you dear, right?